I think we
yes,
should start.
Yes, we should start. We start.
At least Chitto's meeting should start on time. Yeah, Chitto, please go
Yes,
ahead.
sir. Yes.
Very good afternoon to everyone. We welcome you all to the webinar today on the topic leveraging innovation for catalyzing performance of banks. And this is organized by the Banking, Financial Services and Insurance Board of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. And we are really honored to have with us eminent speaker with us today, CMA Dr. S.K. Gupta sir. He is MD, ICMAI Registered Valuers Organization, CEO, ICMAI Social Auditors Organization, and COO, ICMAI International ADR Chamber. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. From the Institute, we are really privileged to have with us our Vice President, sir, CMA TCA Srinivasa Prasad, sir. We welcome you, sir.
Namaste,
We
madam.
have with Namaste, sir. We have with us our chairman, sir, CMA Chittaranjan Chattopadhyay, sir. We welcome you, sir. We have our additional director, secretary and HOD of our BFSI board, CMA Dibyendu Roy, sir. We welcome you, sir. And we also have our BFSI officials as well. So we welcome all of you. So just before we start, we are playing the Institute anthem and then we will continue with the program.
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय
मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय
असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मामृतं गमय ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
So now I would request our chairman, sir, CMA Chittaranjan Chattopadhyay, sir, for the welcome address and for introducing the topic. Sir, please.
Thank you, Indra Kim, ma'am. My Honorable Vice President, TCS Srinivas Pradhat, and our speaker today, Dr. S.K. Gupta, and our HOD and all the team members of BFSI board. Very good, and all our attendees, participants who are always been giving us the inspiration and encouragement to hold these sort of programs. So I also really I convey my heartfelt gratitude to all and welcome you all also for today's program. And let me tell you that today's program is on a very, very important topics. Why? Because the banks, these are now witnessing many, innovations, and that's why the leveraging innovations for catalyzing the performance of banks, and especially what should be our role of CMAs. That would be our today's topics, and I'm sure the deliberations of Dr. S.K. Gupta will definitely give you a new thought process. And also I am honored to introduce to you today on the topic. In today's rapidly changing financial landscape, banks are facing unprecedented challenges, increasing competition, as you know, evolving customer expectations, and advancing technologies. These are forcing banks to rethink their business models and strategies. And innovation is the key to unlocking growth and staying ahead of the curve, we all know. By embracing these innovations, banks can improve operational efficiency, enhance customer experience, and drive revenue growth. But innovation is not just about adopting new technologies or processes. It's about cultivating a culture of innovation that encourages experimentation, learning, and continuous improvement. As cost and management accountants, we play a vital role in driving innovations in the banks. Our expertise in financial analysis, risk management, and performance measurement enables us to identify areas of improvement and develop data-driven solutions. We can help banks, leverage innovations by your identifying areas of inefficiency and developing cost-saving solutions, analyzing customers' data to inform product development and marketing strategies, developing risk management frameworks to mitigate potential risk associated with innovations, creating performance metrics to measure the impact of innovation on bank performance. These are all being talked about by the bankers in various conclaves and various programs. And in fine, I can say that innovation is critical to the success of banks in today's fast-paced financial landscape. As CMA, we have a unique opportunity to drive innovations and catalyzing performance in banks. Let us embrace the challenge and work together to shape the future of banking. Here in particular, I am just touching upon certain recent announcement made by Reserve Bank of India on the digital lending interface, which is another innovations. This initiatives marks by a significant milestone in the evolution of India's fintech landscape. The digital lending interface aims to facilitate seamless and secure digital lending process, enhancing customer experience and promoting financial inclusion. And by providing the standardized framework for digital lending, Reserve Bank of India, the regulator of the central bank of on the country, and the regulator seeks to improve access to credit for underserved segments, enhance transparency and accountability in lending practices, foster innovation and competition in the fintech industry also. Friends, key features of this digital lending interface include standardized APIs for data sharing and verifications, digital documentations and eKYC processes, automated credit scoring and decisioning, and also the integration with existing payment systems. And from this, we can benefit. The benefit will be accrued in that way. It will increase efficiency and reduce processing times. It will enhance customer convenience and experience. It will improve credit accessibility for MSMEs and individuals. It will reduce risk of fraud and improved security. And especially the those who are farmers, agriculturists, those who are MSMEs, they will be immensely benefited out of this. As a CMA professional, we must embrace this initiative and work towards seamless implementation. Let us leverage this opportunity to drive financial inclusion, innovation, and growth in India's fintech ecosystem. And by that way, the CMA fraternity will be linking and connecting pan-India through this innovative process. So really, it's a great opportunity for us to learn, and we have to unlearn also whatever manual banking was there. And now we have to relearn how the knowledge of banking and connecting with these innovations will help our CMA professional more robust to provide more services and to contribute for the nation's growth through this banking, financial services, insurance board. So with this, I'm again welcoming you all, and I'm really thankful to you for being with us for the continuous process of our journey in the BFSI board. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So now I would request our Honorable Vice President, sir, CMA TCS Srinivasa Prasad, sir, for his special address. Sir, please.
Yeah, good evening. Thanks to the chairman of BFSI and also the organizers of this webinar. Now, there will be a learned speaker who is to follow what we have been discussing, and then Mr. Chittaranjan Chattopadhyay set the tone. But let's look at it. What is innovation? Innovation is what? Creating, developing, implementing new ideas, product, services, or methods, or add value in improving existing system. What are all the SPVs, or you mean special purpose vehicles, which is available for that? It must be a novelty, right? That means it's a new idea and it's an improvement on the over niche product, value creation. Then we will have to implement it. Then when you see But one thing we must remember that whatever new idea which comes in, whatever new thing which we are going to do, it is going to definitely disrupt the existing paradigm. There will be a paradigm shift whenever you are getting into the innovative ideas. The old things are not going to be done. Maybe the things are done, but not in the old way. It has to be done in the new way. That means one of the most important aspect of today's topic is, apart from innovation, how we are going to adapt ourselves to the new innovations and also the new ways of working. Continuous improvement, all of us know. Then types of innovation we have, there are innovation enablers. That also we will have to look into that. Innovation enablers could be your technology, even your knowledge, your collaboration, your culture, whatever it is. Now, coming specifically to today's topic, how it is going to be addressed. One is a digital transformation. That is one of the most important thing, which is already taking by storm the whole world and in our country. Bharat is also having a lot of digital transformation technology which is being used and then implemented. All of us are part of that. So you have banks in your mobiles now. I don't think you go to the banks of a brick and mortar and then try to do banking, because banks are available on your mobile, on your hand. The bank is available, and not only one bank. If you are going to be account holder of 3-4 banks, all the 3-4 banks are available in the same mobile for you to do anytime banking 24/7 into 365. So this is one of the biggest thing. Online mobile banking and cloud computing is one of the thing. AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning, which really taking by storm all the things, whatever you are doing on that AI and ML, that is happening. Then the most important thing, what our fraternity, cost and management accountant fraternity should understand is, we have to equip ourselves. Chittaranjan Chattopadhyay Sahab was telling about unlearning. We will have to definitely unlearn many of the things. And one of the most important thing that we should learn is a data analytics portion, because that's going to tell us on customer insights, because customer is the king any day, whether it is a old paradigm, new paradigm, customer is the king, customer insights are needed. And we will have to definitely address risk mitigation. For this, we will certainly need a data analytics, and all of us have to get ready with the analytical portion, and analytical skills of all CMAs have to grow leaps and bounds. Blockchain technology, which is already there. I think our speaker will be touching upon these areas. I'm not getting into fintech partnership. You must be knowing we have got a lot of fintech partnerships and fintech things are coming through. We have, apart from mobile banking, the whole finance stream and finance areas are getting joined by a technology. And then we have got a huge fintech options which are coming. There are fintech startups are there. So this is one of the important area. But we have learned, we have now come across fintech. There is one more word which is coming, which is called RegTech, regulatory technology. That is also coming. Compliances. If you really look at it, compliances may AI and ML is playing a huge role. Even the government sector and income tax department is using AI and ML to the hilt. All of us are party to the growth which is happening and the changes which is happening in the income tax area and GST area. We have seen compliance and AML, anti-money laundering. So these things, regulations, tech, this is going to take. And we have just now seen, when I was talking about customer insight, we have a customer experience enhancement. The more your customer experiences in a beautiful way, customer, his value when it is getting enhanced, then he is a happy man and then he will come back to you. So this is customer experience enhancement is a big one. And then robotic process automation, RPA, it's generally known. Many of the organizations have taken it very efficiently, and they are doing to increase the operational efficiency and your speed and accuracy. Cyber security innovations, banking involves money. So you definitely need a lot of security. So we should have advanced security systems. Then we should have an incident response. You must be remembering whenever you do any transaction on a credit card or whatever card, if it is going to be immediately to the same customer or to the same service provider, same amount you are doing or a different amount, you get a message immediately from your bank saying that, did you do this transaction? If it is so, you need not do anything. Otherwise, please immediately respond, block your card. All of us must be receiving all these things. Look at it. It is a cyber security innovation through artificial intelligence. It tries to find out and then it gives you a incident response immediately. If it has to be done manually, it is impossible to do within that split second where you get a message. You swipe a card, you get a message. Is it you? You swipe an international transaction, it immediately somebody calls you. Is it you? To find out incident response. That absolutely a cyber security innovation which is already happening. Then sustainability and green banking. Green banking in the same platform, BFSI board had organized webinars on that. We are very happy from the institute side that BFSI is taking a very, very proactive steps on all these things. Sustainability and green banking, eco-friendly initiatives. None of us have go for passbook updation these days. We do it everything on our own house at our own web pages we do, and sustainable investing. That is also one of the important point. So I believe many of these points will be covered by the learned speaker. So I'm really thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present some of my views and start off the discussions. Thank you very much. Best wishes to all of you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an inspirational special address. So now I would like to introduce our speaker, CMA Dr. S.P. Gupta. Sir has over 43 years of corporate experience in leadership positions with various public and private sector organizations in the domains of finance, valuation, costing, internal audit, sustainability, integrated reporting, and company secretarial functions. Currently, sir is the managing director of Registered Valuers Organization of the Institute of Cost Accountants of India. He is also chief executive officer of ICMAI Social Auditors Organization and Chief Operating Officer of ICMAI International Idiot Chamber. Sir has chaired and addressed a large number of national and international seminars and conferences. He is a member of various industry associations. He is a prolific writer and has written over 340 articles and research papers, which are regularly published in various professional, national, and international journals. We welcome you, sir. Now, I would like to request our speaker, sir, for his presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Honorable Vice President, sir, Chairman of BFSI Board, CMA Chitranjan Chattopadhyay, sir, and other team members of BFSI Board and learned audience participants. At the beginning, I thank Chairman BFSI for giving me an opportunity to share my perspectives and thoughts on this very, very timely topic of how do we leverage innovations for catalyzing performance of the banks. And I'm thankful to entire team of BFSI for coordinating it and putting it across for me to handle this webinar session this evening. Welcome, everyone. So all of you would tend to agree with me that the world is changing, and the world is changing very, very rapidly and significantly. I'm not only referring to the last 2.5, 3 years when the world as a whole had been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic situation, but even otherwise, if you look at last 2 or 3 decades, there have been some very, very significant changes which have taken place in this world, which have changed the way we live our life and also changed the way the businesses function in the marketplace. It's a VUCA world. The business and economic environment today, the world over, including in India, is highly vulnerable, very uncertain, hugely complex, and very, very ambiguous. And to top it all, there is always that fear of uncertainty lurking at the back of our mind at all times because of huge uncertainty engulfing the business and economic environment today. In this VUCA world, we have some old gold-plated companies which have sustained over a period of time. At the same time, we have a lot of new age startups which are mushrooming all across the world, including in India. Because the times are changing and the times have changed significantly, some of the businesses are coming out with some very, very disruptive business models. To give you some examples, world's largest travel car company does not own a single car of its own. Uber. Look at the business model. World's largest travel lodging company does not own a single hotel property. Airbnb. And the world's largest retailer, Amazon, does not own a single brick and mortar store. These are amazingly disruptive business models which are shaping the corporate world in 21st century, which were unheard of till about a few decades back. But these are the realities of the corporate world in 21st century. Now, when you look at performance of many of the organizations in the marketplace today, we find that many businesses have profitless turnover. They have a great top line, but end of the day, there is no profit. Many businesses have cashless profit. They have accounting profit in their profit and loss account, but then there is no cash, there is no liquidity. But these organizations have very, very high soaring, skyrocketing valuations. The point that I'm trying to drive home is that the measures of corporate performance have undergone a change over a period of time. Financial performance is critical, but today, what the stakeholders are actually looking at is the ability of the company to be able to create value, ability of the company to be able to preserve that value, and ability of the company to be able to sustain that value going forward on a sustainable basis. That is what is the expectation of the stakeholders from all kinds of organizations, including the financial institutions and the banks all across the world. And therefore, you can't keep on doing or following the same practices which led you through the 21st century and earlier times. Because the times have changed, you also got to change or innovate new working practices, new business models, new processes and systems, which is the key to building a sustainable organization. Let's have a look at what is the current business and economic environment within which all the organizations are operating. We talked about disruptive business models, which have changed the rules of the game. At the same time, our Honorable Vice President, sir, briefly touched upon and mentioned about the technological revolution, which has transformed our lives, as well as transformed how the organizations function in terms of their capability to get engaged with the stakeholders, in terms of their capability to deliver products and services just at the touch of the button. I mean, these are amazing times that we are living in because of the technological revolutions. there are demographic shifts which are taking place across the world, which are reshaping our society and the workforce. India has become the most populous country in the world, leaving China behind. But it's not only the overall sheer numbers which are important. The profile, the demographic profile is the key which is important for economic development of the country. China has majority of the population which is aging, whereas India has majority of its population which falls in the younger age groups, and therefore we enjoy demographic dividend. Globalization has changed the rules across all markets. Today, every organization, including the banks and the FIs, have to look at world as a complete market. You got to compete with the best of the best organizations across the world. And because of interconnectedness arising out of globalization, you're also impacted by happenings beyond the borders and beyond the geographical boundaries of your country. And that's the implication of globalization, which is sweeping across the world. Honorable Vice President Sir also touched upon the aspect of customer expectations, which have dramatically changed over a period of time. Today, the customers want everything faster, everything better, more differentiated, and most of it, they are looking for personalized service than ever before. Climate change has had a huge environmental impact all over on all organizations, and that's becoming a central agenda for the boards of all organizations, including the financial institutions and the banks. And the concept of corporate citizenship is becoming front and center as a fundamental purpose of organizations. That means the companies are now looking at not only profit, but they are looking with profit with a purpose. That means they are looking for creating a world which is sustainable, which is habitable, and which is a just and equitable world for everyone to be able to achieve their dreams and to achieve their goals and live a quality life all across. These are the changing paradigms of business, and this is the backdrop against which all organizations have to have a relook at their business model, the way they function, their systems and processes, their structures. Everything is required to be relooked in the backdrop of these kind of emerging dimensions of business and economic environment. So the world is changing and the banks must change too. Why? So that you remain relevant. Banks are the lifelines of an economy. They channelize the funds from the savings of the households as well as savings by the investors and the investments made by various people, and they channelize these funds to different sectors of the economy, and thus they act as catalysts which propel economic growth and economic development across different countries. Banking industry contributes hugely to the overall gross domestic product. Most of the banks today have already started taking innovative approaches, innovative steps towards banking, because they have accepted, understood that the stakeholders of today are looking for ability of the banks to be able to create value, preserve value, and enhance that value going forward on a sustainable basis. In order to meet the expectation of the stakeholders, the banks are adopting innovative approaches to their functioning and their operations. This is an interesting quote attributed to Bill Gates. He said once, long time back, that banking is necessary, but banks are not. What it basically implies is that the core functions and services of banking are essential. They are always going to be remaining relevant for all times, but the way you deliver these services and the way you perform the core functions of a bank or a financial institution, that's going to undergo a huge, significant, radical change. The impact of technology and collaboration of different players and industries is reshaping the landscape and determining the future relevance of banks in the evolving global financial ecosystem. The question whether banks are necessary or not, it ultimately hinges on their capacity to adopt this emerging model where innovation has to play a very, very key and central role. Banks today stand on the threshold of a new era, similar to the start of the digital age. Technology, innovation, and workforce transformation are reshaping the banking industry the world over. And these forces are driving dramatic changes, and banking leaders must decide if they want to be pioneers, they want to follow the past, or be left behind in the entire landscape changing journey of the banks and FIs in the marketplace today. So what we discussed till now implies that there is an imperative need for banks to transform. You can't continue to do your work. You can't continue to provide the same kind of product services and also the way in which you create products and provide services that will have to be changed in line with the changing times as well as the expectations of the stakeholders. Banks need to focus on transforming not only their systems, their operations, but also the thought process. You have to come out with new thinking. You have to come out with new ideas. You have to look at solving a customer problem in an innovative way so that you are able to build up your customer base by attracting new customers at the same time being able to retain your existing customer base. If you have a clear sense and a vision about what would you like your bank to be 20 years hence, 50 years hence going forward, then this is the time when you need to reframe your future by looking at technology, looking at systems, looking at operations, looking at processes. But always remember, you must place the human beings at the center of the whole process of transformation. End of the day, your entire transformative revolution has to be based on human beings being placed at the core, at the center of all your efforts, initiatives in that direction. Banking leaders in this respect, in the journey of transformation, will have to be very, very agile to be able to manage the change. If you're not agile enough, you'll be left behind in a highly competitive world, and therefore you got to be very, very agile in terms of ideation, developing a new idea, a new product, a new service, a new way of developing or delivering a service. At the same time, you got to be agile to put it down in operation, implementation of that idea. The time between ideation and implementation has to be minimized to the extent possible through agile thinking and agile execution. The success for those banks will arise when they are able to balance execution of strategic near-term initiatives with transformation and growth strategies that deliver long-term value for the stakeholders. You got to have integration of your short-term objectives or short-term initiatives along with your growth strategies based upon the long-term value creation by the banks. So why are innovations important? History shows that companies that fail to innovate risk losing market share or becoming obsolete. There are lot of examples. Kodak, you look at Xerox, you look at Nokia, look at many other companies which were huge brands at one point of time, but they lost their relevance, they lost their existence primarily because they could not cope up with the kind of changes which were happening in the marketplace, and they could not adapt to those kind of changes. Innovation has become a critical component of business sustenance and business growth in all sectors, including in the banking industry. Beyond creating the next big thing, innovation includes and is primarily focused on creation of value through new or existing products, services, or processes. The entire focus has to be on creation of value. You create value, and thus all your efforts will ultimately bring profitability also to the organization, rather than looking at the other way around, focusing on profitability and probably sacrificing value creation. That's not going to help you move forward on a sustainable basis in 21st century. You must look at improving customer and employee experiences. You got to improve your operational efficiency, and you also got to be carefully looking at what are the new emerging revenue opportunities which will drive the growth of the bank over a period of time. So what is innovation? Before we start talking about why do we need innovation in the banks and how do we actually go about bringing about and playing with innovation in the banking sector, I think we should just spend a brief time on understanding what innovation is all about. Innovation is a product, service, business model, or strategy that's novel and useful. It's new. Innovations, nonetheless, don't have to be major breakthroughs in technology or new business models. They can be as simple as upgrades to a company's customer service, or you can simply add a few more new features to your existing product. Instead of going in for a leapfrog, even if you do incremental upgrades to the customer service or you add incremental features to the existing products, that's also known as innovation. Business leaders, therefore, today must constantly look for new ways to innovate because, as I said before, you can't solve 21st century problems by using solutions which were relevant and effective in earlier century or 20th century. Innovation is the result of human ingenuity. A company in China has come out with a novel idea. They are selling fresh air filled up in canisters. Yes. Someone may say, who will buy fresh air canister? Baba, air is a gift of nature available to all of us on this planet, free of cost. Why should someone pay for that? But the fact of life is that there is air on this planet all across, but most parts on this planet have polluted air. Of course, the degree varies from place to place, geography to geography, but there is pollution, and therefore people are willing to pay a price for a whiff of fresh air. And that's what the company has done. By way of their innovative thinking, they went to Alps Mountain, Switzerland, and they filled up canisters with fresh whiff of fresh air, and they're selling it out like water bottles in the marketplace. It's selling like hotcakes in the European market. I'm sure it's going to hit the Indian market also very soon. So there are essentially two types of innovations. One is sustaining innovation, which enhances an organization's processes and technologies to improve the product's effectiveness, the product's utility, the product's functionality, or for existing customer base. It is basically undertaken by the organization with a view to maintaining their leadership position. If you don't pursue innovation on a continuous basis, looking for incremental improvements in the processes and customer experiences on a regular basis, then you're going to be left behind. So companies which want to maintain their market share, sustain their market share or market position, they got to continuously keep building up on sustaining innovation. Then there is disruptive innovation, which occurs when some companies come out with some very, very radical new idea. Maybe, for example, a smaller company coming out with very, very disruptive innovation, which provides a huge challenge to a larger organization, but that's something which is disruptive. But disruptive innovations don't occur very frequently. It is like once in a decade kind of situation. But when we talk about sustaining innovation, that is what has to be pursued on a regular basis by all organizations to be able to keep and maintain their market position as well as leadership position. But then innovation, is it the same as improvement? Probably not exactly. That's because if you have a candle and you decide to create a torch, that's an improvement. But what is an innovation? Thomas Edison invented light bulb, and that is what is called innovation. Innovation obviously has the flavor or the taste of a revolution. You can't hope that gradual incremental improvements will result in innovation. Innovation has that ultimate flavor of something like a revolution, bringing about a drastic radical change in the process, in your delivery, in your operation. But then it's not like an atom bomb. It just explodes. Incremental baby steps, incremental improvement in your processes, they ultimately culminate into something like that of a revolution, which brings about huge, significant, radical change in the way the organization functions, where the results are then for everyone to see in clear light. There is an imperative requirement for the banks to create a new vision for their future. Some of the banks have already started visualizing digital transformations. They have already started implementing some of the digital transformation structures, architecture, tools, and techniques. Others are opening up new dimensions of their business model with purpose-driven strategies focusing on building up and providing extraordinary customer and employee experiences. You know, earlier we used to talk about customer satisfaction. Customer satisfaction is when an organization provides a product or provides a service to a customer as per his expectation, we say that is customer satisfaction. But today we are talking about one notch higher than that, next step, and that is customer delight. How do you delight a customer? That's when you provide a product or a service to a customer which is beyond his expectations. And the customer says, wow, I mean, that's the ultimate test, whether you are providing the extraordinary customer experience or not. And many of the organizations, including the banks today, have started focusing on purpose-driven strategies to create extraordinary customer and employee experiences. And of course, technology is a great enabler. Banks are leveraging technology to enhance customer experiences. And in order to address the needs of the customer and society, the banks therefore imperatively need a new vision for the future, which is then required to be based upon the thinking and culture of innovation. So, what is innovation in banking industry? It refers to introduction of new ideas, new technologies, and what is the objective of these new ideas and leveraging new technologies? Objective is to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of banking services. This includes a wide range of activities such as banks are looking at developing new financial products, new financial services. They're leveraging and effectively using emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, machine learning, and they're implementing new business models and operating processes. You know, COVID pandemic impacted almost all the businesses the world over. But over the period of last few years, many of these businesses have recovered from that depression into which they got because of the COVID-19 pandemic situation. But if you look at the recovery path, what was the recovery path followed by all the organization or some of the organization? You will notice that some organizations recovered by way of a U-shaped recovery, like a U. Some of the organizations recovered following the V-shaped recovery path, very, very steep. And then some of the organizations recovered by a J-shaped recovery path, like a hockey stick. The difference was how resilient their business model was. Those organizations which had a resilient business model, they were able to recover faster from the aftermath of COVID-19 pandemic. That's because they could immediately adapt their business model to the changing times, bring about the required changes, and thus their recovery was faster as compared to some of the other organizations who did not have such resilient business models. But end of the day, the whole purpose, objective, and goal of innovations in banking, it centers around improving customer satisfaction, enhancing customer experience, reducing cost, improving efficiency, effectiveness, and overall competitiveness of the bank. These are the core objectives of innovation in the banking industry. So how do we go about the innovation process, or what is the architecture for innovation? There are primarily four phases of innovation. First is clarify. First, you got to clarify what is the problem. What is the pain point within your organization as experienced by your employees? What is the pain point that has been a pain for your customers? And this involves conducting research, seeking feedback, response, or empathize with your target audience, stakeholders, the problem areas which will help you to frame the problem statement, and then that problem statement, when rightly pursued in a structured manner, will allow you to come out with a solution for overcoming that particular problem. Once the problem statement has been clearly articulated, the next phase of innovation is ideation. Ideate, generate ideas. How can we solve this existing problem? How do we improve our efficiency and effectiveness? How do we reduce the cost of a particular product or a particular process or service? And then comes the development stage, where the different ideas which have been generated are explored on the drawing board of feasibility, economic and financial feasibility, with a view to exploring solutions which are the possible implementable solutions which could probably solve the existing problem. And that's where you look at exploring various solutions. And then comes the ultimate phase of implementation. This is the stage when you communicate to your stakeholder, we are bringing about this particular change in the product functionality or the way we deliver our service, and we encourage our customers to adopt the same by way of getting hooked to the bank's architecture, getting hooked to the bank's processes and systems. 4 phases of innovation, that's what we talked about. Now there are 4 models of innovation also going forward. Incremental innovation model, which uses technology to increase a customer's experience, enhance a customer's satisfaction level by way of playing around, improving features and designs of existing product or existing business model of the organization. Disruptive innovation model, applying emerging latest technologies and processes within an existing business model and thus create some sort of a disruption. Architectural innovation model is where we unlearn some of the things that we know already and apply new learnings, new skills, and build up a different business model by combining technological as well as business model disruptions. And then the fourth innovation model is the radical innovation model, which is the most disruptive type, which actually impacting many of the businesses in the marketplace, especially the FIs and the banks, by way of revolutionary technology. Blockchain technology, for example, replaces and improves the current financial fraud prevention methods. The four different models of innovation that you can actually look at. Any one of these innovation models you may decide to follow, and at each one of the phases of innovation, please always have human beings being kept at the center. Your innovation has to be human-centered. Human-centering innovation requires desirability. There's no point developing a new product or a service if people don't want it. First, check out what is that they want, and then develop a product or a service in order to be able to meet their needs. The innovation has to be feasible. Innovative ideas will be no good unless you have the resources to pursue them. And therefore, you must consider whether ideas are possible to be implemented within the technological, economic, and regulatory architecture or barriers. And that viability. Even if a design is desirable and feasible, it also needs to be sustainable. You should be able and capable to consistently produce and design and deliver those products and services over extended period, over long periods of time in future. Then only the viability of innovation or innovative product will be established and not otherwise. So with the kind of background that we have talked about till now, the business and economic environment is changing. You need to change with changing times. You need to innovate because innovation is the only way by which you can stay ahead of the curve. The competition is fierce, highly competitive market, and especially with the threat of new banking, open banking, fintech startups, I think traditional banks definitely need to sit up and take stock of where they are right now and how would they think they would be able to sustain in the market going forward. They seriously need to revisit their business models if they are looking at staying ahead of the curve. And that means retaining current customers and attracting new customers. Customer is the starting point of a business and the end point of a business. Everything centers around the customer. If there is no customer, there's no business. So you're going to consistently keep on adding new customers. At the same time, you should also develop ability to be able to retain your existing and the current customers by offering them products and outstanding customer experiences. Innovations are happening all across the financial sector, which is reshaping every aspect of financial sector and banking, from customer experiences to the way we make the payment, strengthening cybersecurity, creating exciting opportunities for forward-thinking businesses. So just kind of a recap, a quick recap, why banks should innovate. why innovation is crucial for the banks to stay competitive. Because the market is very, very crowded. If you don't innovate, you're going to be lost in the crowd. Fintech startups are actively leveraging new technologies to offer advanced services to their customers. The traditional banks should also look to providing the same level of services to their customers so as to be able to remain competitive. Offering the latest products and services by leveraging emerging technology will help banks to retain their reputation, their brand image, and help retain the customers with positive outlook, with positive reputation. Innovation is important for meeting the changing needs and expectations of customers. So banks probably need to look at offering omni-channel experience. That means you have a branch network, physical branches, yes, and you also have technology being used for providing various products and services to the customers so that you are able to offer your products and services on consistent basis with real-time updates, but wheresoever a customer would like to get a physical connect, he should be able to experience that also. Omni-channel is what most of the banks are adopting in a marketplace today. Innovation is also important for improving your operational efficiency, reduce costs, increase the overall efficiency of banking operations, reduce errors because you're dealing with money matters. There's just no scope for any kind of error in a banking transaction. And you also got to look at speeding up your tasks. And you also are looking at restructuring your workforce, where you want to free your employees from routine, mundane work and put their intelligence, intellect, knowledge, and experience to work of higher nature, creating strategies, creating new products. Don't let your people only get bogged down with routine jobs, which now can probably be handled with machines and technology. Innovation is also important to reduce the risk. Cybersecurity is one of the most critical risks that every bank faces in the marketplace today. Innovations can help you mitigate the risk associated with fraud, cyber attacks. Machine learning can be effectively used to identify fraudulent activities. And innovation is also critically important for creating new revenue streams. It's no longer transaction fee, interest, revenue that the banks are looking at. They're looking at developing new revenue streams by developing new products and services by way of cross-selling and upselling opportunities in an effective way to generate new revenue profiles. And of course, innovation is also necessary for improving the customer experience. Banking institutions will be able to improve the customer experience by analyzing every touch point and making improvements where friction occurs, which is the point where a human being is interacting with the bank, with the system, with the process, anybody for that matter in the banking space. And these touch points, there should be no friction. Wherever there is a friction, it's going to lead to less customer satisfaction. And therefore, many banks have started using chatbots, more personalized financial planning solutions, and customized investment strategies. So, imperative need for banks to innovate in these changing business and economic times. Taking the next step in banking innovation, talking specifically now onwards, what do banks need to do to take the next step in innovation? Putting innovation in action in banks, how banks can actually start looking at innovation in a serious and structured manner. Banks must assess innovation against readiness for change and available resources. There's no point simply talking about innovation unless and until, as part of your overall culture, as part of your overall thought process, as part of your overall mindset, you're not yet ready for a radical change. I think first you need to bring about a change in your mindset. Be ready for innovation. Then look at what are the resources which are available to you for ideation, for developing new products and services, for putting them into action. The point is, first, you must do your homework. Check out whether you are mentally prepared for the innovation journey and do you have the required requisite resources to pursue that journey or not. And then start with incremental change, because that's going to help you initially, because incremental change will not require huge disruption in your business model. Because this is an incremental change, it will require a relatively low internal disruption, and therefore it will be easier to handle, easier to manage. You must have a clear plan for innovation. You must envision the future. Possibly, I think it's time for the banks to rewrite their vision statement. Some of the banks which have been there in the market for maybe over 50 years, over 70 years, over 100 years, probably it's time now to revisit their vision statement. I think there is a radical need for them to carefully look at their vision statement and see whether it fits with the current emerging business economic environment or not, and it has to gel with the changing times with a view to envisioning the future in a comprehensive manner. Any innovation plan that you are looking at and you're trying to develop, it must be focused on and include your stakeholders, resources that you have, required systems and processes, the milestones, how you want to progress in your innovation journey. And of course, many things will go wrong, even unexpectedly in your innovation journey. And then for that, you must have contingency protocols and contingency plans to stay afloat in those kind of uncertain times. And then any innovation plan that you develop, it has to be properly communicated with appropriate budget being allocated for its execution. Otherwise, it's not going to give you the desired results in the long term. The major challenge in innovation for the banks is to tackle historic operational models that are typically tied to products, and they have been designed with an internal focus to meet the needs of the banks. The current existing historical operational models of most of the banks in the marketplace today, they have an internal focus. But in the changing times today, there is need for a complete revamp of this approach. And you got to reinvent your banking philosophy and develop business models which are built upon the concept of customer centricity. In other words, instead of only focusing on internal aspect, your business model now has to have an external focus built upon the whole concept of customer centricity. You got to change your focus. Challenges related to introduction of new banking products and services are solved. New issues may emerge. So you must always be prepared for having flexible plans. You innovate, develop a new product, develop a new service, you put it into operation, but then 3 months later, 6 months later, you may notice some kind of feedback coming back to you that probably there needs to be some kind of improvement, some kind of change in the execution of the new process, and therefore you must always be prepared for flexibly adopting the new innovations which you want to put into operation, put into implementation from time to time. Banks must solicit inputs from both internal and external stakeholders, because if you put an innovation into operation only straight from the drawing board, it definitely possibly may not work the way you expect it to be. You therefore have to get a feedback both from your internal people as well as external stakeholders with a view to finding out how is it exactly working in the real life situation, and are there any improvements required so that you can take care of those changes which are required to be made in the product or service. The whole process of innovation in the banks has to begin with the concept and philosophy of design thinking. Ideation, I talked about that there has to be ideation stage as one of the important phase in the innovation process when you try to create a new idea. But ideation process begins with shift in perspective, which is identifying and addressing customer pain points. How do you do that? This has to be done by using empathetic design thinking approach, putting yourself in the position of the customer. Don't look at it as a third party. Don't look at it as somebody who is not really deeply experiencing those kind of pain points. Put yourself in the position of the customer and then look at the problem empathetically. That's one of the core elements of design thinking. Banks must step into a customer's shoes to determine what they are struggling with and why, and then try and find out appropriate solution. By leveraging design thinking principles and practices, banks can create processes, products, personalized interactions, and many more products and services to enhance a customer's experience. Innovations require collaborations. You need to collaborate with technology providers, with technology platforms, with the internal stakeholders, with external stakeholders, the fintech companies, the regtech companies. It requires collaboration. But the point here is, in a dynamic business and economic world, you need to collaborate with transparency. The purpose of ideation process is to gather ideas with the best ones, often emerging from interdepartmental group collaboration. That means if you are looking at providing some additional functionality to one of your existing products, you must form an interdisciplinary, interdepartmental team. Get a person from costing department, a person from marketing, a person from product design, a person from strategy, a person from HR department. Let them all work together collaboratively and then come out with ideas which are going to be practical, which are really going to solve the pain points of the customers. Commencing an ideation session with an individual contribution provides the opportunity for thoughts to be shared and held in an open forum. These ideas are captured, providing fuel for subsequent group discussion. Everyone cannot be Thomas Edison. Everyone cannot have such bright sparks of ideas so that they can create an innovative product or a service. So probably the idea may be sparked by an individual, but then to take it forward and to check it out whether it is feasible, implementable or not, that is where that spark has then to be taken to the collaborating team for subsequent group discussion so that successful ideation can be developed into implementable product or service. So when you innovate, you ideate, and then probably you develop some kind of a prototype. Then you test that prototype, whether it's working or not. In the case of banking space, FI and many of the companies, you can probably do a pilot. You can probably test out a project or test out a product with particular segment of customers. And then based upon the feedback that you get from there, you can probably change the product or service wherever required, and then take it to the whole market. In other words, innovation requires iteration process, but then do it very, very fast. Iterate to track and fail, but do it very, very fast. Once a winning idea is agreed upon, innovation progress is dependent upon bank's ability to iterate in an agile manner. This iterative approach will help the banks to validate the proof of concept, collect useful feedback, and then incorporate required changes into design prior to implementation. Getting this stage wrong before implementation will present many challenges and problems in the later stages, and this will also lead to overspending in the budget. So, instead of waiting for months for the feedback or decision, you must have an iteration process to track a pilot, to track a particular segment of the customers wherein a new product or service has been implemented. You must do it very, very fast in an agile manner. Ultimately, any innovation will provide the required benefits to the organization only when it scales up. Scalability is very, very important. The final stage allows the banks an opportunity to develop an idea which is validated on the concept of being a minimum viable product. A primary goal of minimum viable product is to figure out which product clients don't want so that the bank can focus on developing only those products, only those features which are preferred by the clients. After implementation, return on investment should be constantly tracked to see if any product or idea feature needs to be improved. And this ROI is both quantitative as well as qualitative. Creating a well-planned and executed implementation approach would help the bank to drive outcomes and deliver compelling experiences for the customers of the banks. Another dimension of innovation for the banks is to look at operational redesign and innovation to upgrade or enhance the customer experience. Customer needs are changing, and this evolution means the banks are competing amongst each other based on customer experience, and the leading banks in the marketplace are already pulling ahead of the pack, with ease of service being cited as the top reason from the customer's perspective to choosing a bank and sticking around with that particular bank. Ease of service. How easily can I meet all my banking requirements, products and services? Ease of service is one of the top reasons for a particular customer to choose a particular bank and stick to that bank. And therefore, customer experience has to be both the starting point and the focus for process design and operational innovation. Operational innovation will help you to grow your revenues and reduce your costs, and both of these are ultimately going to lead to improvement in the performance of the banks. That's where operational innovation is going to directly help you boost your profitability, increase your ROE, and free up a lot of your other resources, not only money, people, systems, machines, which can be gainfully put to better use, alternate use for gaining more traction and more benefit out of those particular resources. Okay, so every bank should look at developing innovative products, innovative services. But then obviously the obvious question would be, how do I check out the performance of a particular bank in terms of its innovation initiatives and innovation efforts? What are the performance indicators? There are many performance indicators used to measure, manage, and report on innovations. First one is increase in value of ideas at the start of innovation pipeline. Value of ideas. How valuable a particular idea was at the start of the innovation pipeline. When someone came out with a new idea, was it simply rubbish? thrown into a waste bin straight away. That's what used to happen maybe in a bank 2 years earlier. But now people have become serious. They're coming out with seriously executable, implementable ideas. That's where we say the value of the ideas now has improved. Ideation is the start point of any innovation process. So value of the idea, now we're getting good ideas, implementable ideas, feasible ideas, and that's where we say the value of the ideas is increasing at the start of the innovation pipeline. Second check can be how many ideas were there and how many were finally found good to be implemented. The ratio, 10 ideas to implemented, 2 out of 10. Going forward, probably 4 ideas getting implemented out of 10. How many ideas were generated and how many of them were finally implemented is a useful tracker to check out performance of a bank in terms of its innovation. Risk-adjusted net present value of innovation pipeline. You can also apply monetary values to various ideas, and you can discount them by using an appropriate discount factor. Using a financial model, you can work out risk-adjusted NPV for checking out the innovation value. Number of projects abandoned. You started off with a particular project, but midway you found the project not to be worthwhile, not to be viable anymore, and probably it had to be abandoned midway. Number of successful handoffs. Speed to market is agility. Once an idea was crafted, once an idea was generated, how long did it take for the bank to hit the market? Agility is what matters. And as a result of all these factors, how many new offerings, whether products or services, were offered by a particular bank, say, in one particular financial year? Maybe, for example, it was 2 in 2020, but in 2023, probably the bank introduced 4 new innovations. So you are better off now. In 2020, you came out with 2 innovative ideas, whereas in 2023, the number of innovative ideas was 4. That means you are on a better track record. Your trend is good because you're improving on your number of innovative ideas. You have to have an innovative mindset with a view to starting your innovative journey and completing that successfully, which requires a willingness to experiment. Not only willingness to experiment on the part of the board management or the board employees, but you also must provide opportunity to fail. Why not? Experiments are experiments. The experimenter doesn't really know whether his experiment is going to be fruitful at a later point of time or not. You may do experiment many number of times. End of the day, you may find it's not really working. It's not really worthwhile. You may have to abandon that. The organization must deliver the message that they are prepared to accept failures when employees take up or undertake new experiments. First, there must be willingness to experiment, and then there must also be freedom to fail. Traditional banks should create space for rapid experimentation. Success is walking from failure to failure, but with no loss of enthusiasm. I believe Sir Winston Churchill could have built an amazing new bank because he tried number of times with particular aspect and he never failed. From every failure, he learned something new, and that's where there must be perseverance, which is very, very critical and important in any innovation journey. Our vice presidents are also talked about sustainable financing and green financing, which is a new dimension coming to the fore in the banking and the financial industrial space. Across all industries, sustainability is receiving a significant amount of attention, and banking is no exception. Banks are required to develop sustainable financial products, green bonds, green loans, blended finance, that allow customers to ensure that their money is not only giving them interest, but also contributing to environmental protection and social development in a responsible way. There are regulatory changes which are happening all across the world in banking space, driven by technological innovations and changes taking place in the global economy. And to stay up to date and comply with these regulations, banks will increasingly have to leverage RegTech, regulation technologies. These technology tools will make it easier for the banking and financial institution to be able to comply with the new emerging regulations. Process automation is another area which can provide hugely beneficial outcomes in the whole journey of innovation. Even though digital transformation is underway, many banking processes still rely on manual and repetitive execution. With so much human involvement, the transactions are time consuming and they are also prone to errors. With the emerging dimensions of artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, more particularly, these tasks can be automated, and thus process automation can really help you innovate new products and innovate new ways of providing services to the customers. With a lot of things shifting and being done through technology now, there is going to be and likely to be a shift in approach to staffing. That means the role of banking employees will inevitably change, and you can probably pull out people from repetitive, mundane jobs, and they can be better utilized where intellect is required, where innovations are required, where idea creation is required. Their services can be more effectively utilized in those domains within the banking space. And of course, I talked about collaboration earlier also. In order to implement many of your innovative ideas, you will have to collaborate with third-party providers, maybe IT people, maybe consultant, maybe a strategic consultant, and therefore the speed of development of innovation is more important than ever before, which can be expedited by getting involved and collaborating with third-party providers. But be careful while selecting your partners, maybe a technology platform. It is important to look for those partners, those organizations that align with your core values and they align with the key focus of your innovation agenda. Alignment with core values of our organization and alignment with the key focus of innovation agenda is very important in the selection of third-party workers. Of course, all of us are experiencing today the digital engagement experience. Winning organizations today are building capabilities, talent, and the organizational structure needed for the transition to digital engagement. Those banks which are still sticking with traditional processes will be lagging behind going forward. They'll be forced to play catch up in the years to come. Back office modernization is also very important because the goal is to provide value beyond products and services. You got to provide empathy to your customers' needs, and that's going to strengthen the overall long-term sustainable relationship throughout the entire customer journey. In costing, we are fairly familiar with the concept of life cycle costing. Here also, we are looking at life cycle customer journey. Once a customer gets attached with a particular bank, well, why not? He should continue with me for his entire journey. And why not only he, his family members, his extended relations, they should also come back to my bank only to continue their banking with my particular bank. So the 10 key emerging banking trends in 2025, as per a research report, are artificial intelligence, open banking, hyper-personalized banking, blockchain, not Internet of Things, banking of things, where all the different technologies are going to be centrally located, centralized, hub and spoke model, and whereby the customer services and customer products are going to be churned out by banking of things, BOT, cybersecurity, banking process automation, neo banking, quantum computing. These are 10 leading emerging banking trends in the coming few years as per a research report. Omnichannel. More customers than ever have moved beyond branches as their primary channel for routine transactions and service. That said, the local branch remains valued for complex transactions, advice, resolving problems. Many a time you have some problem with a banking service or a banking product, and you want to talk to someone, you go to toll-free number, and many of us know what is the experience. Many of the time when we try that out, nobody comes on the line for a long time, or the call is just not maturing. I mean, all those kind of problems are there real life that many of us face day in and day out. And therefore, at that point of time, we realize how useful are the bank's branches. I could have simply visited the branch, met a particular person, talked to him, and would have been able to resolve my problem. But because of this toll-free number business, Baba, lagta nahi hai. I've been trying since morning, not been able to talk to anyone for that matter time and again. And that's where the local branch remains valued. So we are looking at omni-channel, where the bank provides its products and services both by way of digital platforms as well as in physical mode. The end objective is enhancing customer experience and delivering high quality customer experience with the flexibility to reliably support all the various touch points. Innovations will require a major business model shift. As appearing in the last year's European Bank Innovation Report, financial institutions are increasingly looking to move to more of an open banking business model. They are reprioritizing investment strategies. They're building third-party partnerships to drive innovation and customer experiences in future. And that's where the role of the leadership, the members of the board of directors of a bank becomes very, very critical, because that has a direct correlation and impact on the ability of the bank to create innovation, create the right kind of culture, create the right kind of mindset, and success of innovation will depend upon the quality, ability, and commitment of the bank's leadership. They are responsible for creating and offering a culture within their bank that encourages new ideas, and a challenger mindset is now critically essential for all banks. In order to empower your innovation approach, you must follow a phased approach. Upgrade critical components to begin with so that you are able to minimize disruption. Updates and new capabilities can be introduced in phases, targeting specific business goals. The bottom line is, entire future of innovation in banking, it hinges on the culture, the mindset, democratization, and deployment of data and solutions. You must follow a phased approach. Don't be disruptive. Don't dismantle all your existing systems, architecture, try to put a new one overnight. Follow a phased approach, which will minimize disruptions within the organization. So, not to innovate or doing nothing about innovation is actually no longer an option for the banks. That's not an option at all. You have to innovate. Today's customers are silent leavers. They will not only tell you why they are leaving you, they will simply walk out. Hence, banks need to drive and measure customer engagement. And that can be done by increased engagement, which requires modern banking features, new products targeting the needs of younger generation who are digital or tech savvy, and that we know that which is not easily supported by traditional banking architecture or the legacy systems. So not to innovate is not an option. All the banks will have to innovate if they have to stay put in the market and grow sustainably, remain relevant in future. You have to innovate. Doing nothing is no longer an option for banks. Take a narrower focus. Become number one with certain right customers. Probably any change that you may decide to bring about to your processes or services that you offer, probably it may have a favorable impact on one set of customers, but probably it may also have, at the same time, negative implication for another set of customers. That's quite possible, and that actually happens many a time. So you got to be careful and take a narrower focus and become number one with certain right customers. That means offer different levels of services for different types of customers. Offer different pricing for different types of customers. This is like price discrimination, which is a very important concept in microeconomics. All of us would have studied in our college days, professional study, whatever. Try to under-promise and over-deliver while tailoring the services. Provide more convenient access for customers and pre-screen your customers and accept only those that meet specific criteria. Now, this is very important. Don't just let anyone get associated with you or start engaging with you. As customers choose their banks as a responsible bank, as a robust, innovative bank, focusing on providing the right kind of customer experience, you must also pre-screen your customers and accept only those that meet specific criteria. And your communication has to be right. There are various media and modes of communication available to us now, both tech-based and otherwise. You must appropriately leverage communication with your target stakeholder to communicate appropriate messages. All said and done, everyone knows all this, probably what I've been talking for last about 75 minutes or so. So why don't you move? If all of you know that innovation is important, innovation is critical to remain competitive in the marketplace, then why is it that some of the banks are really not taking any action? They are very, very slow in the whole journey. There must be some barriers to banking innovation. Let's check out what are the barriers to banking innovation and how to beat them. There is an inertia trap. Some banking executives are extremely cautious when it comes to innovation or technology development, even when it involves low-hanging technological fruit. And that basically arises because of resistance to change. And why many of the bank executives have and fall into inertia trap, and why do they have the resistance to change? That's because the kind of organization for which they are working has a business model that does not support or facilitate innovative ideas. So actually, it's not their fault. They are stuck in a culture, in an organization where the business model is such that it doesn't facilitate or support innovative ideas. So they fall into inertia trap. Even if they wish, they cannot innovate. Hierarchical organizational structure. That means any innovative idea that's developed by someone within the bank has to go through several levels of approval, and the hierarchy hinders creativity, agility, and flexibility. In such banking organizations where the structure is flat, less number of hierarchical levels, ideas move very, very fast, and they are more likely to see the light of the day. Communication in flatter organizations is faster, more actionable. Collaborative brainstorming is welcome, which leads to more ideas generation as well as implementation within a very, very fast time scale. Lack of innovation culture. Innovation requires a culture of allowing failures to happen. When you try something new, when you experiment with a new product or a new service, many a time the experiment may fail. Your organization has to allow. It must have a culture to allow for failure. Only then people would be motivated to come out with new ideas and do experiments. To overcome this roadblock, banks would need to adopt a startup mentality. Fail fast and fail often, and accept that innovations do not always make money. I think this is one important takeaway from today's session, if I may say. Banks must develop a startup mentality. Just as a startup, when it comes into the marketplace, it doesn't really know whether it's going to actually succeed or not. But then if it fails, you must take immediate action, either to reframe your model, reframe your practices, or to get out of the market immediately without getting late. And therefore, the banks are required to follow a startup mentality, fail fast, fail often, and accept that all innovations may not succeed, may not always lead to better operation, more efficiency for the banks. Many a time people say we are bound by various kinds of regulations, which are very, very clumsy, very, very time consuming. We don't have time for generation of new ideas because most of our resources are generated and deployed to meeting regulatory requirements. I think this is quite often used as kind of an excuse not to innovate. And there can be no other reason, but regulations can just be an excuse not to innovate. Instead of seeing regulations as obstacles, you must start looking at them from their positive, beneficial outcomes for the banks. After all, regulations are there to protect the customers and the banking institutions overall. Many people see other banks as their competitors, and they are. Why not? Banks often see each other as competitors, but probably you may also start looking at other banks with a different lens. Look at your other banks operating in the financial and market space as partners with whom you can collaborate, join hands together to share knowledge, share experience. We should stop pretending that we can protect ourselves by trying to outdo each other by funding startups. Instead, develop or venture into new initiatives together. Instead of competition, follow the concept of co-optation. Co-optation is collaboration, not competition. Banks need to understand every market, every product, every geography, every customer segment, and they will have to be willing to shape, redesign, adapt new business models. They have to partner in unconventional ways. They have to rewrite their vision statement, rediscover their purpose, and commit themselves to building a culture of constant innovation. They need to develop and deliver bold innovations in an agile manner. The pace of innovation is a clear indication of transformation that lies ahead. So there is need to implement something new just because of the hype and because everyone is doing it. I don't think that's the right philosophy or the right mindset. There is no need to implement something new just because everyone else is doing it. It is better to analyze the pros and cons of each new innovation, each new idea, to understand its pros and cons, understand the benefits and the cost involved, and how this will improve the overall customer experience. Otherwise, implementation would be not successful. So my concluding remarks, innovation in banking is showing a distinct human quality. Human beings have to be kept at the center of all your efforts, the entire architecture of innovation that you are trying to build within your banking system. Human beings have to be kept at the center, because end of the day, you're serving and providing a product or a service to a human being. Leading banks have an inspiring vision for a future. Only those banks which are looking at maximizing customer engagement, using digitization to reduce the costs. They are innovating to create value. They are innovating to remain competitive. These will be only banks and financial institutions which will succeed in the race for the future or the sustainability in a marketplace. It's a quest and the race which only the brave and the smart ones will be able to complete. The future of banking is here. Banking is at crossroads today. Time is right for bankers to size up opportunities and identify exponential technologies, innovate and be smart and be sustainable in a marketplace going forward. Thank you so much. That's where I close my formal presentation. I'll be pleased to answer a few questions, or some of you may have some views. It'll be pleased to interact with you briefly if you have some views or questions. Thank you so much for joining. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an informative session today. We're highly hopeful, extremely hopeful that the participants are highly enriched by your deliberation. We will upload the presentation also, sir, as we always do in our VFSI portal.
Yes,
so,
please.
yes, the participants is sure they must have many questions. They can mail us, they can ask us, they can mail you also, sir, directly.
Yes, please.
So, okay, thank you so much. So, now I would request CMA Bibindu Roy, sir, he's the Additional Director, Secretary and HOD of our BFSI board for the vote of thanks, please.
Thank you, Indrakshi. Good evening to all. We thank wholeheartedly CMA Dr. S.K. Gupta, who is always giving thought-provoking sessions to us. And today's topic was also very innovative, leveraging innovation for catalyzing performance of banks. And we also thank CMA TCS Srinivasa Prasad, Vice President, for gracing today's occasion and addressing us for his special address. And we also thank CMA BB Nayak, President ICMAI in absentia, for his guidance and always motivating us to organize more webinars. We thank our BFSI board members for their kind support and guidance for various activities undertaken by the department. We thank our IT department, CPT department, and other departments for enabling today's webinar. We thank our BFSI team members, Indrakshi, Shantanu, Devaprato, Aditi, and others to materialize this event. With this, we close today's session. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you.
Thank you.